You boys knew what's about to happen to you. You'd leave now.
Some consider these traits to be toxic, such as undesirable in the men of today. We consider these traits such as these not only to be desirable, but to be appreciated and celebrated. Welcome to the Toxic Male Appreciation Show, hosted by and La Reina Creole. Welcome to the safe space for the toxic male.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Lorena Creole, and of course, with me is my wing woman, of Positive Fandom and the Burnett Work. And of course, this is the Toxic Male Appreciation Show where we appreciate you, toxic men, and we like to showcase some actors who have played some very, very toxic male roles. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, Lorena. There couldn't be a better time for it as we are entering this hot summer. Time to see some toxic males.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And one that just, I mean, you just say his name, you already know it's toxic. And of course, that would be Ving Rhames, who yet another yet another actor I feel like we gotta grew up with in a way of he first of all he has a distinctive voice and he has a very distinctive distinctive talent, and just like several other people whose career was basically launched by Pulp Fiction, this is another Pulp Fiction alumni.
Absolutely, Lorena. And of course, Vin Rhames is incredibly talented, but he's also incredibly striking. I think as an individual and a character, he's always going to stand out. He's just, I mean, he's absolutely the epitome of masculinity for me because he just has a very strong demeanor. He has integrity. He will defend, the righteous. He's fantastic. I think he's just so wonderful to watch. And of course, we lost him too soon, but he's wonderful. He's absolutely stunning.
Mm-hmm. He's so absolutely is. He's awesome. Did you say lost too soon?
Yeah, I thought am I getting him confused with someone else?
Yeah, because I almost freaked out for a little bit. Yeah, it's not out of the ordinary because stature wise they are the same, acting wise they are the same. I think you're thinking about Michael Clark Duncan.
Yes, I am. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was like, did I miss something? I want to make sure I got that right. But yes, we did lose Michael Clark Duncan way too soon, folks. If you didn't cry watching The Green Mile, you have zero soul whatsoever. And laughing at him in Talladega Nights as the pit boss. Oh gosh, it was absolutely perfect. Hey, Dad Man Walking, glad you got the notification. Let's see. Lovely ladies, hope you are well this afternoon. Well,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes, we are well, and certainly hope you are too, Dad Man Walking. Appreciate you being here. But you are absolutely right, my dear. He is very striking. He's not quite 6 foot. He's like 5'11", but that's okay. He's extremely tall. He has an extremely nice build, and he has an extremely deep voice, and he has been in so many amazing movies. I mean, looking at his IMDb Pro star meter, yeah, he's one of those where you just know when he shows up in a film, that it is going to be something to see, and the variety of roles that he has held is immense. There's a whole heck of a lot of them. We don't have enough time to go into all of them, but we are going to hit some of the most poignant ones. And I'm pretty sure will think of one that I haven't thought of, and we'll pull that one up too. We will definitely pull that one up too. So, just to give you guys a little bit of background about Ving Rhames, he was actually born Irving Ramses Rhames in Harlem, New York. He entered the New York High School of Performing Arts. Of course, you know what that is, right?
Fame. I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
live
be
forever.
Man, that movie and that show made that school absolutely famous, and even more famous, like so many other um, American thespians. He went to Juilliard.
Yes.
I'll say thespians and musicians. He went to Juilliard school and did theater, Shakespeare in the Park. Of course, from what I read, he's been in several soap operas as well. He's done a lot of things before he came on the scene in Pulp Fiction.
Yes. He certainly has. I mean, to be honest with you, I think I don't think it was before Pulp Fiction, but I do remember him playing Don King only in America, which was one of the roles that he won a Golden Globe for. And Don King's
Mhm.
kind of a controversial figure to play. Of course, we all know him as this boxing promoter, and it wasn't going to be easy to play this role, but he did a fantastic job with it. And obviously, he was awarded because of that performance. But he certainly does have an incredible variety of performances, Lorena.
Absolutely incredible variety of performances. A film that I didn't know who he was because I actually saw Pulp Fiction before I saw this movie, and it turns out to be one of my favorite horror movies, and that would be The People Under the Stairs. This is an urban type of horror movie, of course, from the horror genius that is Wes Craven. This was a type of horror movie you didn't see. Starts out with this kid, his mother's like suffering from cancer. They're about to be evicted out of their apartment. They don't know what to do, and his uncle, played by Ving Rhames, is like, yeah, I got a job for you. He's like, your mom's dying, what can you do? I got a job for you to do. And basically says, we're going to go rob this house. Now, this house, his grandfather tells him, we cross the street. We don't go near that house. That place is evil. And he's telling them, don't you even think about going over that house. Well, we know what happens, right?
Yes. Absolutely, Lorena. And it was a very popular horror film. Certainly, I think, one that people still remember from the 90s. And I believe he played, did he play I think his name was Leroy?
I think it was. Yeah. Leroy.
Okay, I remember that from because I haven't seen it in quite some time, and it might have been around the time when I saw it, but it was popular. It was a popular film.
Yeah, extremely popular. One due to Wes Craven, because it's like a Wes Craven horror movie, and most of the actors are black in it. We're
Mhm.
just like, okay, I gotta go and see this. It was so different. All around that mythos of that creepy house in the neighborhood that everyone whispers about. But they're so desperate, he thinks his uncle Leroy has the answer. And his sister tried to say, Leroy, don't tell him stuff like this. And the character that he plays is the male figure in this boy's life that he doesn't have. Granted, it's not the most positive role model to have. But it boils down to him telling him, look, you either can do what you need to do to help your family out. You know, that's what you need. That's what you need to do.
Yeah,
And that
absolutely.
convinces him. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying absolutely. And, I think from, if I remember correctly, it was inspired by a true story, but certainly he was,
Mm.
this inspirational figure to this child. And I think for a horror film, it's not always easy to find characters that are compelling.
No, you are absolutely right. Because the way that he shows up and and the situation that he lays out, he doesn't sugarcoat it or anything, and it boils down to, do you want to provide for your family or not? I don't
Yes,
care that you're only, I think he was like 11, I think 11 or 12, I forget which age he said he was, but he was just like, look, it's time for you to grow up.
exactly, exactly. And it wasn't it was also kind of a mature story as well. However, they pulled it off. I think it was, one of the best horror films of that era.
I would have to agree with you on that. This is one that I think I have on physical media, but when it comes out on 4K, I have to have this one, because it's not bloody gory. It's more, well, there is a little, there's some gore in it, but it's more psychological terror than anything else. So I think that's what also increases popularity, because it wasn't as bloody as, like, say, a Nightmare on Elm Street. But yeah, Ving Rhames is Leroy.
Absolutely.
Loved it.
And the film also did very well in the box office. And I think on Rotten Tomatoes, it also has a very high percentage rate, which is, not every horror film gets that, but this one overwhelmingly, I think it got maybe around the 60 to 70%, which is high for a horror film.
Hmm. Yeah, very, very, very high, which just proves it has so much. I would say more of a broader appeal, so to speak.
Yes.
Which is always good when it does it. I would say, for you young kids, I would say it is analogous to, rating wise, to Megan. I would put it
Yes.
kind of like that.
Yes, absolutely. And Megan, turning out to be such a big hit with so many people, and kind of an unexpected hit. So yes, I agree with you.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, we all know this is the movie that just blew up his career, along with Sam Jackson's, along with Uma Thurman's. Oh my gosh, so many people in this film, and his portrayal as Marcellus Wallace, the gangster husband of gangster slash drug stealer husband of Uma Thurman's character. I think it was Mia Wallace. I think her name was Mia Wallace. His I can't even. It's hard to explain. I'm not going to say it's hard to explain, but you can see just how much of a range that this man has, the type of character that he played, the type of situation that character was put in, that was extremely shocking.
Yeah, it was extremely shocking, and I even trying. I'm recalling it now, and it's one of the most disturbing parts of the film for me.
Extremely, extremely disturbing. I mean, you thought that it couldn't get more disturbing. Let's just say F and Efren shot. Y'all should have seen the movie, but it's one of those where it's so good. I don't even want to spoil it, even if you haven't seen it yet. Yeah, a very disturbing part. But in the end, because of that, it also lends, I guess, to the sense of urgency, especially when it came to Bruce Willis's character. So it kind of made sense in the end, but it was very tough to watch. And I'm thinking, If he saw this role, like, do you really want to play? How come you don't want to play Jules? Why do you want to play Marcellus Wallace?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's it's a dog eat dog world in Pulp Fiction.
Yes,
One minute you're up, the next minute you're down, and you're really down.
for
That's
real.
what I say about that part. I'm still very shocked by it, but it did certainly give him a lot of acting cred. He was already a fantastic actor, but
Hmm.
this certainly, elevated things quite a bit. And I was not expecting to see that in the film.
No, no, that was just not what I was expecting. But
Yeah.
for folks to kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
this. Oh, I forgot to say this scene right here.
This is after he's been freed,
Yes,
and certain things were done to him, but he actually just kind of picks up as if nothing's happened. It's very odd. But certainly it was a very unfortunate thing that happened to him. There's no other way to put it. It's very unfortunate. Poor fellow, to have to go through that. But of course, once he was freed, he's back in business. But yes, that's right at the moment he was. Was it Bruce Willis's character who freed him? It was, right?
yeah, it was
Okay. Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
was Marcellus Wallace had a price on his head,
Yeah.
to
But
to put it politely.
I didn't think that was going to be something that anyone would do to him. But
No,
there are as my mother says, there's all different types of people out there. my,
very
my father would say yes, in a good way and a bad
good
way.
way. I just know that whole theater, we were like,
Yeah. Yeah.
"Are
Yeah.
you seeing this scene?"
I suspected that was going to happen, like sometimes when you get a gut feeling, but I didn't know we were going to see it in such a detail.
Exactly, exactly, and I think that also lines up with, the scene that we saw with Mia Wallace and the epinephrine shot.
Yes.
That's something that when I was taking a screenwriting class, that's one of the scenes that they brought up, where how you ratchet up tension. I'm like, Dad, we did not think we were going to see that, and then this gets piled up. I'm telling you, it's one of the reasons why there's this stuff. It's like you should turn away, but you just can't. But the way, like you said, the way that you know Bing's character just shakes it off. He's the only person who you believe
Hmm.
could
He's
do
right
that.
back in business.
Yeah.
It's
He
just
said, I'm
another
gonna go.
day. It's like, oh, shit happens, yo. Go on
Yeah.
with life. Like
It's like, what you gonna do? Well, I'm gonna call
maybe
some of my
that's
boys over here, and we gonna get straight up medieval on his ass.
maybe that's not even the first time that's happened to him. I mean, I'm not gonna, and it's food for thought because of the type of environment that they're in, and different types of things that happen in that type of an environment.
Hmm.
For example, if unfortunately in prisons we know this happens,
Yeah.
and on a regular basis, and the note, everybody has that sort of in their lexicon. They're aware of that. The interesting part about when they resuscitate her, Uma Thurman's character, now we have people walking around with Narcan, and they know how to use Narcan. But would
Hmm.
you have ever thought we would be learning, like, train? Oh, you can have Narcan training. I'm like, well, what is it? But you have to squeeze this in their nose. Okay. But would you have ever thought we live in a world where that would be kind of like the normal, where people will be walking the streets and collapsing, and you have
Hmm.
to call the police or an ambulance, and it's like, give them Narcan right away? Or even in schools, not something I thought we would have, but it is very interesting to look at those scenes. And I suspect that he's dealt with that before. I can't say for certain, but boy, he's tough. He's damn tough.
Yeah. Tough, thoroughly, thoroughly toxic. Just like, yeah,
Yes.
not
Yes.
above meeting out some like one YouTuber said, street justice, son. That's exactly what he went and meted out here.
And he's a survivor. You know, he's going to make it through. I think all maybe a bunch of other people, and unfortunately, maybe they won't make it. They'll die in shootouts. They'll die from overdoses, whatever. But you know, he's a survivor, and I think sometimes surviving through this it all has to do with the company that you keep. For example, and I always the scenes where those kids keep coming for drugs, and they're essentially going to drug dealers' house for drugs. It's like that's incredibly dangerous because as soon as you open the door and step in, anything can happen. But what they did in the film that I liked was that they took the kids with them out of the house, and the kids thought they were fine.
Yeah. So Jules started talking to him and mishandling that gun.
They should have known as soon as you get into a vehicle, in a situation like this, it's not looking good. But they were not. They were not street smart kids.
No,
don't go into somebody's. What's going to happen if this. This is. We know what's going to happen, but they just want to get high, and
that's it.
Yeah, so it's just very interesting to see how people survive in this film, and and look at his face. He's vindicated. He's like, yeah.
He's like, yeah, we're gonna,
yeah,
get some of my boys to come over here and go ahead and fix this.
Yes.
It's quite possibly one of again, disturbing scene, but I absolutely love it. And imagine seeing him in this and then seeing him in Mission Impossible. Now, the first Mission Impossible movie, I was kind of pissed with what they did with Mr. Phelps at the end. I was not too happy with that. But I was very happy to see Ving Rhames in this one. You get this guy, he is a straight up geek. I mean, mad because he didn't want to get his Gucci shoes messed up. Hacking everything. And I was like, this is a character that we usually do not see. Usually see a Black man playing. I want to say the one analogous to this is, and I'm blanking on his name, but he was in was it Terminator 2? Or was it Terminator? The guy who invented Skynet. I think it was Terminator 2.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. He's also the father of Cyborg.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm blanking on his name.
That's okay. We'll figure it out. But I know who you're talking about. I love that actor. I love him.
Yeah, he's awesome. And I can't remember which movie came first. I think that one did before. Maybe okay. Either way, they're around the same time. We're around the same time period. But it was great to see him, from that character in Pulp Fiction to playing a different type of character, like a geek you wouldn't expect to be a geek because he's this big buff dude, and usually the geeks are really skinny, nerdy looking guys, but he definitely was not. And yeah, I loved him. Loved him in this.
I'm trying to find the guy's name, but yes, I know what you're talking about. It was nice to see him do something like this. Certainly, I think that he's a man who can play any role. And it's just wonderful to watch him in a film like this. He's so charismatic, like Jean Reno, who he's next to, kind of steals a lot of the screen, a lot of times when he appears on there with his accent and his kind of French demeanor. But Vin, doesn't allow him to take away any of that sparkle.
And I think that has so much to do with his classical training as well. I love the scenes with these two in the movie. It was just great. So his character is, I believe it's Luther, if I am correct. Yes.
And the actor who plays who invented Skynet, his name is Joe Morton.
Joe Morton. Okay, okay. Thank you for looking that up. That was going to drive me absolutely nuts. Not knowing that, but yes, Joe Morton. Yes, also Cyborg's dad. That's what made that role. Okay, I'm going off a little bit on
Yes,
tangent.
it
That's
did.
what made that role even cooler because
Mhm,
it's just like in Terminator 2, he greater Skynet.
mhm. And I wondered why they didn't make a cyborg movie or even a Silas Stone movie, which is the character he plays.
hmm
That I think those characters would have been remarkable, and people would have loved that because we don't know much about them necessarily on screen.
No,
So
no, and that would have been perfect. So we're gonna move to another movie that Ving Rhames was in, and I gotta tell you, I absolutely love this movie for so many reasons, and that would be Con Air, one of my favorite Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer movies about a bunch of convicts. This is, you think of kidding, you see the popularity mean, right? There's a reason why this movie was such a fun time. Just shut your brain off and just enjoy it because dude goes to prison. Somebody tried to take the bunny that he was going to give to his daughter, and he had killed some guy in self-defense or whatever. But guess what? They're putting him on this plane, transferring him to prison, and it's nicknamed Con Air.
and you're almost rooting for them when they do seize control of this thing. I mean, and a lot of times when you watch films like this, and it's prisoners who, are being transported from one place to another, they come off as being incredibly evil and horrible. But this is a little different. And it's almost as if you feel like, and I don't know whether it's true, a lot of these guys were wrongly imprisoned or something, and they just got
hmm
to get out. And this is their last chance, their only chance. But what a setting! It really has a lot of fun elements to it that I think a lot of people enjoyed. And we need films like this kind of unusual circumstances where somebody gets a plane that's like that, like it's so unusual, so unlikely, but just so much fun to watch.
Just an absolute joy to watch. I mean, great time, great fun, almost in the vein of like say The Expendables,
Yes.
callbacks to movies like this. Then again, this is another one of those movies where Hollywood seemed to be the most productive when it was running on Bolivian marching powder. Let's put it that
Well,
way.
I think it was fulfilling a lot of fantasies, not just in storytelling, but in production value, where
Oh yeah.
these things were really difficult to coordinate. I mean, the you fortunately the actors were already incredibly talented, but now you had to sell this. This had to make some kind of sense. I mean, we've seen The Fugitive, we've seen all these other roles with prisoners who escaped, and we're not necessarily always sympathetic towards them, except for maybe The Fugitive was one.
hmm
So how do you support characters when you're not supposed to be supporting them? And it's in this film.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the kind of films that Don Simpson, God rest his soul, Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer were known for. And of course, Bruckheimer went on to do a lot of I call them true crime yet relationship types of things, like with of course CSI is one. Of course, all the CSIs and his movies just have that type of, there's that human element that he has in there. And for all of these characters, including Bing's character in this, you just feel for the men behind the label of convict, or the orange. It's like what's behind the orange jumpsuit? What's their story? That's going on with this.
Yeah, that's a good question and something to think about, and also the notion of redemption for some of them. Um,
hmm
you know, uh, we have inmates who are kind of in these institutions, and I guess possibly for the rest of their lives. And it is very hard to even think about that side of all of it. So I think that might be another reason why, you may be rooting for them to kind of get away.
It's like I shouldn't be doing it, but oh, I just it's like I shouldn't do it, but 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 I'm gonna have to do it because dang it, I just I just have to root for them. But one character that I was definitely rooting for, I don't know if you've seen the movie Rosewood.
I have not seen Rosewood.
Rosewood, this was a tough movie to watch, yet a movie that I had to watch. Rosewood, this was basically a dramatization on something very real that happened. Rosewood was a black town in Florida in the 1920s. A couple of towns that were founded by Black Americans. Most of them, like usually, the founding started during Reconstruction, and so you
Right.
had these little, you had these towns, and Rosewood was, I say was, because the town was basically obliterated off the map. So basically, the whole story was is that this one white lady had claimed that she had been raped, and it turns out that later on in the story you find out that it was actually a lie, but it started just a crazy lynch mob attack, and it was just the dramatization of what happens. It's all around this one Ving's character who comes back, and I'll have to bring it for you. Actually, I'm just gonna play the trailer. But he comes back from World War I, and he served in World War I, and he comes back, to this country, and it's just like he can't, when he sees people, he can't look them, he can't look them in the eye when he talks to them, and even when he's having a disagreement with them. And my grandfather was like, who grew up in the South, he was like, yes, that was very real. And this man he is an absolute he's an absolute hero in this story, trying to protect the people, in his town. And he's basically one of the only people who actually knows how to take up arms and use them. But not only that, he's he is compassionate enough. There's like this storekeeper who's white who's there, and he just wants to do whatever he can, to help. So it's a tragic story, one that definitely needs to be told, and the dramatization in this is extremely good. You see this man as this, and he's gone to war, he's come back to a country that does not love him back, and has to protect his family, has to protect the lady that he is in love with, and and his community. And it's such a great toxic male example, and a film, honestly, that people really need to go back and look, because it's very quite factual.
It sounds amazing, and I've got to see it. And I don't know, maybe we could do a watch party of it, but it sounds incredible. It really does.
Yeah. John Boyd is in it. Don Cheadle is in it. Esther Roll is in it.
Oh, wow.
I mean, there's so many, so much great talent that is in this film. And this is what he looks like.
Yeah, he looks badass there.
He is extremely, extremely badass in this movie. Of course that's John Voight. I can't get back to the other one, but dang it, how come I can't get back there? Okay, because it won't let me. Okay, so yeah, I
Yeah.
love period dramas.
And this is based on a true story. It
Yes,
sounds amazing, Lorena. It sounds
Yes,
amazing.
it is. It's one of those films that I say it gives historical context to a very tragic situation, but does it in a way that is factual, even though you have a dramatized dramatization, so to speak. But Ving is great in he's great in this, and there's so many great people, so many great actresses that are actors and actresses that are in this film. So Rosewood, definitely one that you want to watch that has Ving Rhames in it. It's extremely good. And if you think that one is good, talk about expanding your
Yes.
have you seen this one?
Yes, I have. Yes. Yes, I have. Yeah, it was
Oh,
wonderful. It was a wonderful film. And it's been a long time since I've seen it, but he was wonderful in this. And, it just shows his range of what he can do. He was wonderful. And it essentially like, I guess more or less like a Hallmark film, but certainly incredibly touching and thought provoking about kindness and, you know, being, having empathy towards others. I think it was a very good film.
hmm this one was a film that when I first heard the title, I didn't really pay attention to. But when I heard that Robert Townsend had directed it, Robert Townsend, famous for the movie Hollywood Shuffle, gotta watch that. The movie's hilarious. Love it. That I said, "Oh, I'll pay attention." And it had Ving Rhames and Alfre Woodard, who is, and honestly, no one can play a drug addict quite like Alfre Woodard.
Yes.
I swear she killed it. She absolutely killed it in this. And yeah, him as a drag queen. And then it was such a heartfelt story, and
It really
I didn't know if I was gonna like it, but I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, it really was an incredible performance. And, at that time, Alfre Woodard was pretty much like getting every desirable role out there.
Mhm,
And she just was such an incredible performer as well. So the combination between the two of them just really had so much chemistry. Um, and so, yeah, this was an amazing picture. I think maybe one of his best performances. And Alfre Woodard, the same. I enjoyed this film. It's been a long time since I've seen it. It did come out in 2000, so it was a while ago. But
mhm,
yeah, Alfre Woodard does play a woman who unfortunately has a drug dependency,
mhm,
and it is really amazing. And from what I understand, I think she was nominated for a Golden Globe for this part. She didn't get it, but it certainly was
mhm,
unbelievable. I think it was. I can't remember whether it was something that went into the theater, but it was something that I did watch, and I watched more than once, and I liked it a lot. So I thought it was great, and I think around that time there were quite a few stories focusing on people with alternative lifestyles. You
Was
know,
this when, like, near when, To Wong Foo came out?
it was that might have been a little bit earlier in the 90s, but yeah, it was around
Okay.
that time. You're spot on, and also around the time, if I remember correctly, Kinky Boots might have premiered in the UK. And also the other film that you might be thinking about is Priscilla, Queen of the
Queen of
Desert.
the Desert.
Yes. So, those particular uh, shows were very popular at the time. And I think Higgy Boots came out around 2005, but I believe Priscilla, Queen of the Desert was one that came out in the 90s. And this certainly was on the level of quality, as far as I'm concerned, maybe even better than Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I enjoyed it. I recommend it to anybody who wants to see his performance is remarkable. He's so good in this.
He truly is. I mean, I was just floored
Hmm.
with the way with his performance, and it's a very emotional, um probably the most emotional performance that I'd seen him give. So Holiday Heart, definitely one to check out. And we'll go from that one to my guilty pleasure. This is my favorite character from one of my favorite Disney animated features, and that is Lilo and Stitch. I love Stitch. This I mean, it's so much fun to watch. It's such a cool family message, and of course, Ving plays the unforgettable Cobra Bubbles. Can you believe this guy's a social worker?
I can believe it. I think he played anything. He's great in this.
He is awesome.
Mhm.
You hear like this deep voice coming from him, and Lilo just looks at him and says, "Have you ever killed anyone?" And he's just like, "Let's talk about you." And he's talking, his voice is just, this trusting voice. And we're just like, that's Marcellus Wallace.
Mhm.
I just don't get it. But when he's talking to her and he's trying to find out, are you okay? Are you healthy? Are they, are you being taken care of? Because he is a social worker, but it's so hard trying to reconcile the Marcellus Wallace character with this one, but with his acting and his voice, it makes it very believable that you have this person who this big dude is like, what is he, like a bodyguard CIA agent?
Yeah, he does, or
What
one of the Men in Black or something.
I know. And turns out in the movie, yes, he actually was one of the men in one of the men in black. But
Mhm.
his thing is he wants to protect, the kids who, that he has to work with, as a social worker, to the point where telling Lilo's sister, he's like, I know you mean well. I know you do, but you need to do what's best for Lilo. There is just something about his voice when he says that.
Yeah,
And I'm just like, ah,
it was one of those moments where we're talking about responsibility and things that films from that franchise and company used to stand for. Certainly, that is those moments where you're like, you kind of you take a quick breath because you realize the profoundness of what they're talking about, and that is what's most important. And it's made its point, and it's no agenda whatsoever. It's just for the welfare of someone else. I think it really does kind of ring very true.
yeah, it does. And to get back to like, well, not to get back, but in addition, like the whole thing with the toxic, with being a toxic male, that being, protector, we see him as just like a social worker. Okay, yeah, yeah, that could yeah, that could totally work. And you see like how protective, he is, trying to make sure that that the kids are okay, and that, sort of like you're probably thinking, well, any kid that that he has as a quote unquote case, they're going to be protected. Look at this guy, you know.
Yeah, it's something to think about, and it also is it kind of an easier way as well because sometimes there are different kinds of families, and for children to
Hmm.
see these things on screen, but in a manner that's realistic, rather than it being pounded over their head, uh, kind of told to them in a gentle manner that they can understand. It's so important for them to see things like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh man, I love him in this, love him in Lilo and Stitch. Oh my gosh, I was so excited. I was like, "Is that Ving? That's Ving Rhames' voice. It's so cool. I freaking love it. Absolutely, absolutely love it." And again, we're going back to the horror genre because we just love horror. It's this Dawn of the Dead. Did you see this one?
I have seen it, yes. And I've seen all the those zombie films, and I like all of them. So yes, he was great in this too. How about you,
Oh my
Lorena?
gosh. Yes, I did. I saw this. I saw this when I saw he was in it, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be hype. It's gonna be hype. He plays, he plays, was he police officer? Or was he security? I think it's police officer.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
either
so.
that or like a security guard or something. And of course,
Yeah.
the one where they're all in the mall, right, Lorena?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's in the mall. He's got, he's leading everybody. He's got shotgun, blow their heads off. That's what it was so cool watching him in this, as the leader in the zombie apocalypse. And I think this one, probably in addition to Lilo and Stitch, I think this one he really did for fun because it's like, who wouldn't want to be the lead guy in the zombie apocalypse?
Well, there was a lot going on because just like in any other situation, um, there was a lot of people who stood to kind of benefit from abusing others. And it's like a lot of times in situations like this, people forget how they would normally behave. I'm not going to say
Hmm.
it's an accident if they're doing it because they were in survival mode, but you can tell that nothing is going to happen on his watch. Nothing's happening. And I think that is so important for people to see, especially young people, to see mature characters who are
Hmm.
letting you know that they're not going to stand for any crap, especially
Yeah.
if, even if the world ends, you are still going to make your bed. You're still going to, finish your food, leave the table, take your plate away, whatever it is. He was not
Hmm.
going to allow everything to go to hell. And if he had allowed that and, kind of abandoned the group, it would have been a disaster, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Completely.
the it's not ever a perfect ending with these films. I think they end up on the boat, right, Lorena, in
Hmm.
Catalina Island or something like that.
Yeah.
And we know what happens there, but an attempt has to be made. There has to be some kind of trial or something in these films because that's your natural human instinct, and he's great in that. And unfortunately, the boat runs out, and then they land on the island, and
Hmm.
yeah, but they have all the hope in the world in this. The mall seemed like things were going great for a while. They had the guy across the street with a gun shop, you remember?
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, like he didn't. I think if the gun shop guy if they had a safe way for him to go back and forth, they would have made it. But
Hmm.
there was just too many places that people could come and sneak into his store.
Yeah.
And he had the ammo. They needed what he had in there. They could have made a safe perimeter. I'm already like thinking, I was like, they could have made a safe perimeter. They could have closed the gates and it would have been fine. Like, but that's why we watch these films, for performances like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's one of the reasons why I didn't think that I was gonna like this because I was like, oh, it's a remake. I like the originals. I like those.
Yeah.
And I saw it and I'm like, oh, I'm so in. I'm so I'm so in with this flick. Damn Man Walking says I felt bad for the gun shop guy. I was sad.
Yeah, I felt
Yeah.
bad for him too. And he looked like he was going to make it, but it was just him. See, if he had a few people, like two or three people to watch, you need somebody to watch your back in that type of world. And
Hmm.
with all the guns, it's like he couldn't keep up with everybody breaking into his store, the zombies. So that didn't help. But yeah, that was sad. I think if the gun guy had survived and they could get weapons and create a realistic way of handling things, it would have been very different.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, that's another one for the horror watch list. Dawn of the Dead.
Absolutely.
Which, of course, brings us to the main reason why we are showcasing Ving Rhames on Toxic Male Appreciation. And that is because Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is going to be coming to theaters July 12th, 2023. Ving Rhames is going to be reprising his role, of course, as Luther. And I'm so hyped. I'm so excited to see this film.
Yeah, and we haven't necessarily been getting great films this year. I think this one is going to blow everybody away. I think
Agreed.
Tom Cruise is going to just knock this out of the water. This one and the next one, we are in for a treat, and we deserve it because we've been putting up with a lot of stuff that hasn't been quite up to par.
Hmm.
But I have a feeling that Tom Cruise is dedicated to making this a success. He doesn't want to see his films fail, and he wants the audiences to be pleased. And the type of person that he is, he's promoting the hell out of this film, and it's going to be amazing. And I'm looking forward to it as well.
I am so looking forward to it. I will be seeing this sucker in IMAX if it is available in IMAX. I want the most prime experience because in the theater, when I saw the trailer, I mean, people weren't really paying attention to the trailers, but when they showed this trailer, people were like, "Oh my God, I can't wait to see this! Can't wait to see this!" So, yes, I completely agree with you. I cannot wait to see this movie. I can't wait to see all of these actors back together in the trailer when Ving is just, when Tom Cruise, when Ethan Hunt is basically saying, all of your lives are more important than my own. And Ving's just like, I don't, he's just like, no, no. It's like, no, Ethan, that's not true. And Ethan's basically paraphrasing saying, I don't accept that. But just all these acting heavyweights, Simon Pegg, who is, I freaking love him. I love Simon Pegg. I can't wait to see this. It's with the way that Tom Cruise has been promoting this film, of course, after Top Gun Maverick last year. He knows what the audiences want to see, and he's appreciative of what the audiences want to see. And you can tell just how much he respects his fellow actors, especially a lot of the scenes with with Big. So I cannot wait to see all of them. I cannot wait to see Ving in this film. He's had a long, long, long. Well, I won't say has. He has a very long resume and lots of acting credits, and I cannot wait to see what he is involved with. Next, of course, there's Dead Reckoning Part 2 that he's going to be in. And well, here's an interesting thing I'm going to show you guys. He's going to be in the Garfield movie.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Oh, that's
I
great. That's going to be great.
I can't wait for
I can
this.
hear his voice right now.
Mhm.
It's
I
going to be
can
fantastic.
I can hear it. I mean, you have Chris Pratt, who is going to be doing the voice of Garfield. You've got Samuel L. Jackson, who's going to be doing the voice of Garfield's dad, because we've
Oh,
never heard his voice, and Ving is going to be in it too. So I don't know what character Ving is going to play. I just know that I am looking very much forward to seeing him.
it's going to be fantastic, and I am looking forward to it as well. Just such a great performer, and he's amazing.
Yes, he absolutely is. So, any last words before we wrap up this toxic male appreciation? I love, I mean, I know you're probably going to say this. I love how we get to showcase a lot of these other, mature actors out there just to show you how thick their resume is. And also, just the toxic male characters that they have that they've portrayed.
Absolutely. And certainly he has such a variety of roles. Is kind of what you want as an actor. You want to have a repertoire where it shows you can do a variety of things. And certainly he's proven that. But we always like to see him in his toxic male role. He's a natural for something like that. He always looks compelling and strong and is a protector, absolutely masculine. And we love
Mhm.
him for that sense of strength and security that he provides on the screen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, folks, please do yourself a favor. Before you go see Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, go check out some of these other films that Ving has been in. I'm sure that you will definitely enjoy what he has been in. So, where can people find you?
Well, guys, you can always find me on my YouTube channel, Positive Fandom, where I have my Sunday brunch show at 10:30 a.m. Eastern on
Yes.
Sundays. I'm doing a watch party right after this for the second half of Glory, the movie with Star Plato and Lance from the Outcast Creative. Actually, I'm sorry, it's Gettysburg. I'm getting confused. We did Glory 2 weeks ago, and this one is the Gettysburg one, but equally compelling, Lorena. We
Mm,
Both films are so spectacular. You guys can always find Lorena and I on the Burn Network on our show, Ladies of the PGS on Mondays. Guys, please do like and subscribe to my channel, Positive Fandom, and the Burn Network. And Lorena, thank you so much for having me here again for another fantastic episode of Toxic Male Appreciation.
oh, well, my dear, you are very welcome. Always love having you on the show. Always love talking about having you want to talk about our toxic males that we love to see on the screen. Of course, folks, I can't talk today. You can find me
Yeah,
on
same
Pro
way.
Show, WW Pro Live after this airing, and catch me over there on that particular show. On Friday evening, you can catch me on her channel at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we are doing a watch party for season 7 of Outlander. Oh my God, I love this show. I
So
love this show. It is so much fun. It's so delicious on so many levels. So it's so delicious. So you got to check that out. And of course, on Saturday, I will be live again from the Magic Kingdom, of course, to show you some great summer fun. And we're probably gonna drop into the Polynesian resort to
ooh,
check
I
out the cool
love
eats that are there. And you know, I love tiki shopping, so we're probably gonna
it. Mhm.
go over there and do that as well. And on Saturday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, will be joining me for a watch party of Disney's Beauty and the Beast. So you
Mhm.
do not want to miss that. So, folks, thank you so much for hanging around with us for this show. We sure do appreciate you watching. Please do hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed to of Positive Fandom. And of course, we will see you all next time. Bye.